In other news, US President Joe Biden will be visiting Poland tomorrow, and according to Ukraine's defense ministry, Russia may attempt to disrupt Biden's visit to Poland. According to reports, Russia plans to launch sea-based and land-based ballistic missiles, as well as air-based cruise missiles. Ukrainian officials say that these actions by the Russian military aim to disrupt Biden's visit to Europe, though means of direct nuclear blackmail. US President Joe Biden, who will be leaving Washington today and will be visiting Warsaw tomorrow, will reaffirm Washington's commitment to support Ukraine in the ongoing war. According to the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, Biden intends to send a strong message of solidarity. Meanwhile, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that China is considering to provide weapons to Russia in its war against Ukraine and issuing a warning. Washington has said that any supplies would cause a serious problem. Listen in.
We also had an opportunity to talk about Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine and concerns that we have that China is considering providing lethal support to Russia in its efforts in Ukraine. And I was able to share with him, as President Biden has shared with President Xi, the serious consequences that would have for our relationship.
Blinken further asserted on how the assistance would contain lethal support, which includes everything from ammunition to weapons. Blinken had made similar comments during his meeting with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, where he told his Chinese counterpart that if China provides material support to Russia or any kind of assistance with systematic sanctions evasion, there will be consequences. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Zelensky has said that Ukraine's military is inflicting extraordinary significant losses on Russian forces in the eastern Donbass region. Zelensky also said that the French President Emmanuel Macron was wasting his time considering any sort of dialogue with Russia. During an interview, Zelensky said that it will be a useless dialogue and that Macron will only be wasting his time. The Ukrainian president asserted on how it is impossible to change the Russian attitude. Let's now go over to our correspondent Anas Malik, who is getting us live reports from Ukraine. He's currently in Lviv in Ukraine. Anas, thanks for joining us again. Now, you are, of course, in Ukraine at the moment. We are building up to February 24th. It will be 1 year since this war began. President Biden is expected to visit Poland. Now, Russia is likely to disrupt this visit. That's what the Ukraine Defense Ministry is claiming. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, there's always an apprehension or a growing apprehension of what they say is a Russian attack or a Russian assault as and when such visits take place. And we've seen that Kyiv has said in the past that, or it has alleged that Moscow has been sending missiles into different parts of Ukraine, especially towards the west. So the warning by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, it should not be taken, it should not be said that it's just another warning. It should be paid a heed to, because there's a pattern to such warnings, and the pattern has rightly been there. Now, US President Joe Biden is all set to visit Warsaw tomorrow, and in a bid to express solidarity. Now, what is unclear, as I talk to you, what is unclear is that whether President Zelensky will also be traveling to Warsaw or not. That is the key question. I think that would be something very, very closely tracked, because it's just not a solidarity visit of President Biden with Poland or with Warsaw, because they've opened up, but it also comes in the backdrop of marking 1 year of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So therefore, all the more reasons to keep this visit in a much more hype or be more closely tracked. And in case if President Zelensky actually travels to Warsaw from Kyiv, which is not that far, then that would be something quite closely monitored.
Right. Let's talk about China now. The US is asserting that China is considering providing weapons to Russia. Is there any merit to this claim, and what does this say about the growing closeness between Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping?
Well, China and Russia have been partners in quite a lot of forums, and in fact, Beijing has refused to condemn the Russian aggression. In fact, it calls or recognizes it as a quote special militarized operation unquote, something that the Russians use on their when they try to justify their invasion of Ukraine. That again, as I said earlier, that this should also be taken. This should also be paid a heed to. There were growing talks of a Chinese peace plan on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference, where we were reporting from earlier last week. So, if at all China is planning to come up with what is believed is a peace plan, then certainly peace cannot be achieved while they're trying to supply weapons, as it is being alleged by the US side to the Russian side. What we know so far is that at least the Russian side did reach out to the Taliban, more surprisingly, offering them cash in return for the American weapons that had been left behind in Afghanistan. But what we have also seen, at least in this war, in this 1 year, which we have been tracking at WION very, very closely, is the fact that Russian weaponry has taken a greater hit, and they have been reaching to alternate means. So one would not be really surprised in case, if at all, the US claim of China considering to provide weapons to Russia would, if there is any truth to it, one would not be surprised. Priyanka?
Right. Anas, as we come to that date, February 24th, you are in Ukraine, you're getting us the latest. What's the mood like on ground? It's going to be 1 year since the war began. We've seen so much loss of life, of property, and still we don't seem to be seeing an end to this war. So what's happening on ground in Ukraine?
You rightly mentioned, Priyanka, there doesn't seem to be an end to this war, at least here. But I crossed over last year as well. We were reporting from this very spot last year, because this is the first city which you get to after crossing from Poland. And the scenes have drastically changed, though one city cannot speak for the entire country, and that would be a bit too early to assess. But having spoken to people here in the roughly 12 hours or so since I've been here in Ukraine, people are sad, they're in grief, they're in constant fear as well. What you see behind me, I'll just get aside and I'll try to pan this and show it to you, that people have come to terms. This is one of the main centers or the main squares of Lviv city, that's towards the west, and it borders with Poland as well. This is a testament that what you see behind me, cars, people back in the squares, trying to get back to their normal lives, school buses being there. This is a testament to the fact that they're trying to get a grip on what is believed to be the new normal. But that does not mean that they've given up or living under constant fear. We're seeing more and more people on the roads, restaurants open, bars open. There's adequate supply of food now, food and essential items. Previously, the hotel that I was staying at, you would get limited amount of food supplies or dinner or breakfast. Now it's not the case. You see restaurants open. So people are trying to get a grip of what is the new normal, but they continue to live under fear, hoping that there is no further attacks, but they know that that is not the reality.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anas, thank you so much for that ground report, and thanks for joining us at this hour. We've been talking about what the US is claiming in this war at the moment. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.